Another edition of lcpioneers.com Live gets started on this Wednesday, presented by PioStream, as we try to keep you connected with Lewis and Clark student athletes, coaches, the community, and alumni 4 days a week at 11:30 on Facebook Live and archived at youtube.com/lcpios. I'm Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers, located in Portland, Oregon. We are a member of NCAA Division III and also the Northwest Conference, competing with institutions throughout the northwest part of Oregon, throughout the state of Washington as well, and then with NCAA Division three's reach 430 plus institutions nationwide, opportunities for our student athletes to compete all over the country, but unique to the West Coast. There's not a ton of Division three opportunities on the West Coast. There's 9 institutions in the Northwest Conference, the only in the Pacific Northwest. So a unique chance, certainly for the student athletes, that we get to have an opportunity to coach or interact with, educate at Lewis and Clark. And today we will have one of those coaches on our show, Matt Kosderka. He's in his third year, about to enter the fourth season as the head coach of Pioneers baseball. He was a former standout in the Northwest Conference as a pitcher himself. And one thing I love about Coach Kosderka, much on the heels of Neil Weir yesterday, the all-time fastest men's cross-country runner for Lewis and Clark, don't wait. He goes after it. He's going to make this program what he wants it to be as quickly as he possibly can make it there. And we'll talk about all the steps that he's put into place to try to have that. And the Pioneers were on a pretty solid pace in his third year. They were definitely on trend to have a win total that was unlike something they've had in about a decade, had everything played out. Now, that said, we'll also talk to him about the impact the coronavirus pandemic has had on his program, his team, and it's been about 2 months since basically the seasons were fully canceled for the spring season. And with that uh, in the back of our head, it's worth mentioning the LCs are going on right now on our Instagram. Instagram handle is LC Pioneers. And what we're doing is we're trying our best to mimic what would have been our LC ceremony. It's an end of year ceremony that we do the last day of classes. It usually takes a couple of hours. Student athletes come into Pamplin Sports Center on the orange carpet. There's athletes of the year, rookies of the year announced. It's a really fun celebration of Lewis and Clark's Year of Sports, hence the name Excellence in Lewis and Clark's Year of Sports. Since we weren't able to have that on campus this year, we decided to go ahead and do a virtual LCs on our Instagram. It runs all this week. It'll wrap up toward the end of the week, and just trying to do our best to honor the best moments. You're seeing some from tennis, which we just posted this morning. We'll have more moments posted later on at LC Pioneers on Instagram. I do invite you to get connected with us on social media. Twitter is a great place. LC Pioneers on Twitter. You can ask questions of today's guest, Matt Kosderka, or anybody for that matter that we have coming up this week. Also in the comments below on our Facebook Live. And then sports at lclark.edu is a good way to get a hold of us as well. Last but not least, we mentioned our YouTube channel. That's a place where you can see all of our past interviews. You go to youtube.com/lcpios, and all of those interviews from the past. We started the show at the end of March, which is kind of crazy to see how time has flown so far through the end of spring semester. Finals are going on this week. But any of the shows that you might have missed, including yesterday's guest, Neil Weir, available at youtube.com/lcpios. And so with that said, let's bring in our guest today. He's the head coach of Lewis and Clark Baseball, about to start his fourth year in that position. Matt Kosderka joins us. Matt, it's good to see a little bit of our field behind you, going down there to get some Wi-Fi and talk to us. How have you been holding up since everything has kind of changed with the pandemic?
It's definitely been an adjustment, but I would say other than the baseball not being around, I've actually tried to take advantage of the time that we've had. Got to spend a lot more time with my family, which has been great. Obviously, I'm kind of a quieter guy, a little bit of an introvert, so I've been telling people I've been social distancing for 40 years, so this is really nothing new to me. So it's been a pretty easy adjustment.
Yeah, we could be on separate sides of the spectrum in that regard for sure. I can't wait to get out to the people again. But that's great. I mean, I'm happy that you've adjusted well, and I'm curious how it's impacted your team. Maybe walk us through that second week of March, right about the time we found out that the seasons were postponed, and then shortly after that canceled, until where we are now in the second week of May. How has this coronavirus pandemic, the loss of a season, kind of impacted your guys and your program so far?
I think it's been really tough on them. For me as a coach and our coaching staff, we'll have other seasons, but for our players, they'll never get this time back. So that's been very difficult for them. I think especially when you consider our seniors, in their last year, it's their last opportunity to play baseball with an organized group. It's definitely very tough for them. But I think our guys will handle it pretty well. I think one thing we talked about at the start of the season was a book that I just read called Coffee Bean by John Gordon. And in that book, they talk about when the water's boiling, you can be either a carrot and feel sorry for yourself, you can be an egg, and you can be angry with the situation, or you can be a coffee bean and you can transform your environment. And so we really tried to focus on that for our guys, and so they've done a good job of that. While they still miss baseball, they've really taken advantage of the opportunity to focus on their academics, spend more time with their families as well, and they're trying to make the most of the time that they've had.
And one thing I mentioned right off the bat I admire about you is your ability to say, we're not going to wait for anything to change. We're going to try to go after it to the best of our ability. And as soon as the season was announced that it was canceled, I mean, you wanted to make sure your seniors were honored as quickly as possible. And that was a moment you shared on social media. What is your senior celebration typically, and why was that such an important thing for you to get done before, unfortunately, we've had to go off campus?
Yeah, obviously that last practice was very tough to start out with, and telling our guys that our season was coming to an unexpected stop, especially for those seniors. I felt awful for those guys. So we're fortunate that we had an opportunity to have one last practice together, come out, take some batting practice, and just kind of have a good time with our guys. And then we always try to end our last practice for our seniors with our underclassmen, the folks will be returning, kind of line up outside of our facility, and our seniors get to walk through the kind of tunnel of those guys as they're kind of the last time to leave the field. And I was very happy to have that opportunity to do that for them. While it was certainly not ideal in the situation, I think they appreciated that, and we'll always have that time to remember them and to share together.
Matt Kosderka, head coach of Lewis and Clark Baseball, joining us on lcpioneers.com live. We are live Tuesday through Friday at 11:30. We'll give you information on our guests coming up for Thursday and Friday's show later in this show. Coach, I mentioned this is the conclusion of your third year. You're entering your fourth season as the head coach of Pioneers Baseball. Kind of give us a state of the program. Describe where it was, to your knowledge, when you inherited it, and kind of how have things played out now entering your fourth season.
Well, obviously, if you look at the records, we've struggled for quite a while. We've been towards the bottom of the conference for a long time. That was definitely a big goal of mine to come in and change that. And I think that was another one really hard thing about the season is we kind of gotten over that proverbial hump, and we had kind of one leg over it after doing pretty well the last weekend against George Fox and winning that series. And we felt like our guys had finally started to believe in what they are capable of and what we see in them all the time. And so we really like where we're at. It's been a slow progress for us. I think some of the things that have really helped us have been the improved work ethic for us. I think we're very fortunate to have somebody like Coach Ange to be really guiding our guys in the weight room and pushing them in the weight room, and that work ethic has definitely started to pay off on the field. And I think also one of the things that was really important for me is to make sure that our reputation as a program on campus and in the community and in the Northwest was one of high character and high quality as well. And so we spent a lot of time trying to really teach our guys about a lot more than just baseball. We want them to win the game of life more than the game of baseball. And so we tried to do a lot of that, and I think we're making good progress. And but we still have a long way to go, and we're excited to see what happens in the near future.
Well, it seems to me too. I mean, that's something that your whole coaching staff embodies. I mean, you have an alumnus like Bill Allen on the staff, but you've brought in a lot of coaches, especially this year with the addition of two new coaches and Eric Del Prado as your primary assistant. It seems like you got a lot of response out of the student athletes, kind of because of them too. How did they have an impact in their first year on board?
Yeah, I believe that all of our coaches are builders of men, and that's important to me. I just don't want guys who are going to come out here and try to teach the guys the game of baseball. We want them to really be invested in our guys and let them know that we care about them, we love them. And I think that's really one of the big reasons that our players respond to them. Obviously, having more coaches has been beneficial. We can individualize our attention to our players a little bit more, which is great. But our guys know that our coaches are there for them. And that's been huge. And obviously bringing in a guy like Coach Turpin, who's got a ton of experience himself, winning a national championship at Oregon State, pitching professionally for a long time. He's done a great job with our pitching staff. Coach Topom has been great with our catchers. It's been nice to have somebody to run them. And then you talk about a guy like Bill Allen, who's an amazing man. And then having Eric Del Prado full-time is a guy who's a really giver and a servant of our players too. So I think just our ability to give to those guys and let them know that we love them, we're here for them, and we're trying to make sure that the the experience is theirs and not ours. I think that's something that our players have really responded to well.
Yeah, EDP is a great guy to have on staff, and then Bill Allen loves Lewis and Clark baseball for sure. Um, Northwest Conference is something that you had a good amount of experience in as a student athlete, outstanding career as a pitcher for Willamette. How has that helped you send the message to prospective student athletes and student athletes who are on your team about what can be accomplished in this conference, and for baseball specifically, just how competitive this conference is?
I think one of the things that we really fight in the recruiting game is people think Division III baseball is recreational. I actually had a recruit ask me if we had organized practices one time, which was a little comical to hear somebody say that. But obviously, playing in the conference, I knew what a conference is about. I think it's one of the best Division III conferences in the country, if not the best, from top to bottom. And my story was that I came out of high school. I was a pretty solid pitcher. I wasn't anything unbelievable. I told everybody I was going to play professionally, and everybody laughed at me. And I had the opportunity to play, which is a great thing about our level. A lot of guys want to say they're a Division I athlete or Division II athlete and put that on their Twitter account. But for us, you have an opportunity to come in and play right away, and that's the best way to develop if you want to be a better baseball player. And so I had opportunities to play Division I, but I probably wouldn't have played until my sophomore junior year. I went to a Division III school. I got to start as a freshman. It allowed me to develop, and I think that story really resonates with the kids when I get to talk to them. Not only the kids that I'm recruiting, but also the kids on our team. They know that I've been there and I've done those things and I've had success, and I think all of our coaches have. And so I think that definitely adds to the benefits of what our level can offer them.
Lewis and Clark baseball head coach Matt Kosderka joining us on lcpioneers.com live. We were talking about the LCs before we brought you on, and it's our annual celebration of all of our student athletes and their accomplishments. And then you kind of mentioned when we talked about the coaches and philosophies of your program, how you want to have them be complete packages when they leave Lewis and Clark, not just in competition, but really fitting that building champions mentality. You were a former Champions of the Year, Champions Team of the Year award winner, which is honor given to the team that kind of exemplifies all those qualities in any given year. What are some of the non on the field programs that maybe you put in during your non traditional season, or something that stays with the squad for both of the semesters that really kind of emphasizes those things that are important to you?
I think, obviously the number one focus for our guys is they call it a student athlete, not an athlete student. So the academics comes number one for us. And that's been something that's been very important to me my whole time here. Something that we've really kind of helped to or used to help our guys kind of get through this tough time is we have a spring academic challenge. So we have a team high GPA of 3.31. That's the highest we've had. And so we set a goal of really having our guys organize themselves and focus on trying to improve that. So the academics is number one. We understand that almost all of our guys are going to go on to careers outside of baseball when they get done with Lewis and Clark. So we want them to be prepared for that. So that's something we definitely focus on. Something we definitely check in with them on a number of times and reiterate to them on a number of times. But we also try to do a lot of things to help other people. One of the pillars of our program is we over me. And we want people to understand that this world is not just about you, it's about us. And so we make our guys go do some community service. This year we were fortunate to have some pretty awesome stuff with some of the homeless population here in Portland. And to see that firsthand for our guys is kind of an eye-opening thing that maybe they haven't seen before. And so it gives them a little bit of an idea on servitude. We always talk about we want our guys to leave here prepared for the next 40 years of their life. Just not the 4 years they're here. And so things we can do is we can prepare them to be better husbands, better fathers. We can also prepare them to be better civil leaders and servants. And so those are some of the things that we try to do in addition to some of the other activities that we have to try to make sure they're prepared for the game of life, like I said, not just the game of baseball.
So kind of segueing to where you are right now, I mean, you've done a lot of upkeep on the Houston Sports Complex, the baseball field, trying to make things look as top notch as possible, and it's incredibly noticeable for all of us involved with Lewis and Clark athletics. Kudos to the amount of work you put in personally, but your entire team and staff do as well. There's the We Believe project that's going on right now, and it's to even further enhance the quality of Houston Sports Complex for both baseball and softball. Describe why the We Believe project is named as such, and kind of the goals of that project.
Obviously, it's unfortunate in this situation where I think some things have kind of gotten pulled on hold. A lot of things have gotten put on hold during this time. But, the We Believe project is something that's very near and dear to my heart. It's kind of serves a number of different purposes. Number one, it gives our athletes, not only on the baseball but the softball side, a facility that's very worthy of their time and their efforts. We want to make sure that our guys and our ladies in the softball program have everything they need to have a great experience here. So it'll do that. It'll also allow us to potentially add other sports, which would be great for our college and give other students opportunities to not only to be an athlete in the collegiate level, but to get to experience that at Lewis and Clark and all the great things that Lewis and Clark offers. And the final thing is this: it's a perfect way to honor Coach Gatto. Coach Gatto was a legendary coach here. Obviously, I've never played for Jerry, but Jerry, I've known him for a long time before he passed away last year, and he was very near and dear to me. And his "I believe" mantra is something we've tried to carry on in our program. We want it to be something that's stable and for everybody to see for the rest of the time. And so, hopefully, this project in the near future will come to fruition, and it'll be a great thing for everybody involved.
Yeah, we just kind of talked about that during the virtual LCs, is the idea that there's a lot of important things that are going on right now, and as such, a lot of regular life has to take a back seat. But to learn more about that project, lcpioneers.com/we believe, and so that maybe when things do get back to normal, we can deliver that for softball, baseball, and as you mentioned, it'll have an impact on all of our intercollegiate teams with the possible addition of more because of that extra space down there at Houston Sports Complex. Um, it's after May 1st. Baseball was after it. You have already announced the upcoming class. Not necessarily expecting you to talk about every single player, but if you want to kind of summarize when we do get back to the field in spring of 2021, some of the impact that this freshman class is likely to have on your program.
First of all, I'd like to say that I'm super excited that we have most of our guys coming back from this year. We have an opportunity to build off the momentum that we carried into the end of this season with only 4 seniors graduating. So there's a lot here already, and these guys are just going to add to it. This is my 7th year recruiting, my 4 years at Willamette, my 3 years here, and I think it's by far the highest quality level of class, not only in ability on the field, but character off the field. And so we're very excited. We have a couple of pitchers who are going to come in and compete right away, whether for a starting spot or one of our release spots. We also have some hitters, which is definitely something that we need. Offensively, we've struggled a little bit in the last couple of years. We have some guys who we think could come in and not only contribute right away, but be some of the better guys in the conference over their career. And so we're very excited to have them all come in and join our program and continue to build and enhance what we've done so far.
And we invite you to follow baseball on social media, LC Pios BB in most of the places. Worth mentioning Cole Petters, Andrew Yarrick, Joey Oda, and Jessica Katona, those 4 seniors that you mentioned who were part of that walkthrough at Senior Day, as much as we had a Senior Day this year for your program. So big roster coming back next year, and thanks for sharing that about them and about the freshmen that are coming in and everyone in between. Matt Kosderka, really fun talking to you on lcpioneers.com live. Thank you.
You bet.
So there you go, Coach Kosderka. I mean, like I said, this is a guy who is all about getting things done at Lewis and Clark and trying to make a change in a program that, even as he talked about Coach Gatto, you have a guy who was taking programs to the World Series. I mean, that was the state of Lewis and Clark baseball in the early 90s. And so I think when he came in, Coach Kazurka was like, there's one place we're going, and that's going to be getting back to that level. So really fun to talk to him and hear kind of what he's shaping the program to be in the coming, hopefully, year. I'm excited that maybe in spring 2021, we'll actually have our full baseball season because it was really tough not to have all of our spring sports. If you follow our Instagram, LC Pioneers, we're doing the virtual LCs, and yesterday we posted up that piece as we share best moments from the spring sports. Yesterday, we kind of teased that and introduced it with the idea that we can't wait till things are back to normal. But, and the reality of it is like seniors lost their last season, and many sports lost most of their season in the spring. Most sports did. Some sports lost all of a season. And so that's really tough when you think about what this time of year is usually like. I mean, it's a lot of work to have 6 different sports, and many of those sports with the men's and women's team going simultaneously. But with that work comes a lot of thrill because you get to see so much of that work pay off at one time. And it's really tough not to have a spring season this year. So I invite you to go to our Instagram, LC Pioneers on Instagram, and kind of see what we're doing with the virtual LCs to keep people in the loop and certainly honor the work that happened with those groups in the past. past couple months and throughout this last 2019-20 academic year. Our scheduled guests, we had Neil Weir yesterday, Coach Kosderka today. Tomorrow we have Amy and Robin coming in from the Lewis and Clark College Counseling Service. Important to do that because right now the NCAA's social media campaign to end the stigma around mental health is going on, headed really by all of the collective student athlete advisory committees, including Lewis and Clark SAC group. They're doing a lot of great stuff on their Instagram, LC Pio SAC, SAAC. And so Amy and Robin will come in tomorrow and talk to us about all of the things that the counseling service does to help all of Lewis and Clark's over 2,000 undergraduate students get resources to make sure that their mental health is in as good of a condition as it can be. And it's another one of the goals of the show is just to bring in more voices from the whole community to show you the kind of support that Lewis and Clark student athletes have access to, which is great. I mean, Amy and Robin are tremendous in what they do. We've had Angela Gintz on, Rocky Campbell, some other folks from that community who do a nice job to try to make things the best that it can possibly be, especially this time. So Amy and Robin are coming on tomorrow. Etta Moen from Women's Cross Country will be our guest on Friday to close out the week. She'll tell us about her outstanding season that she had this past fall, the cross country teams in general had this fall, and then also her experience being part of the overseas study program that Lewis and Clark has, and having to come back when the coronavirus pandemic hit, and some of the challenges that she had in doing that. So excited to talk to her as well. A couple of things to mention later on this afternoon. You can go to lcpioneers.com/YLC and an opportunity to kind of take a look at all the virtual tour type stuff, virtual content that we're trying to continue to update. And at 3 o'clock, there will be an Instagram live conversation. Usually that happens at 3 o'clock, certainly at 4:30 information sessions, but those might have changed with it being finals week. So be sure to go to lcpioneers.com and see what they're doing there, lcpioneers.com/YLC. And then, of course, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, LC Pioneers Volleyball hosting a coffee chat with head coach Emily Hayes. That's at 12 o'clock on LC Pio's VB. 4 o'clock on Fridays, we do have a conversation with our head coach of cross country, Matthew Burrow, his assistant, Jeffrey Randall, and they talk about some of the different conversations they're having with some of the premier names in track and field, not only obviously in the Pacific Northwest, but nationwide and throughout the world. So that's 4 o'clock on Friday at LC Pio's XCTF. That's how you can find all of that. So until we talk to you again tomorrow with Amy and Robin from our counseling service, they will be our guest. I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us, and we will talk to you again soon for more lcpioneers.com live on Facebook Live and archived, youtube.com/lcpios. Goodbye, everybody.
Hi, I'm Nick Lombardi. Something I've learned at Winterim this year is how to communicate a vision.
My biggest takeaway from Winterim is probably the networking. Getting to talk to everybody, connect with people for the future is one of the most valuable things, and I did Winterim last year, came back for more this year.
I think a way in which my liberal arts education has really helped me and my group formulate our ideas is that concept of critical thinking and having many different backgrounds, me being an econ major and my two group mates being chemistry majors. We really get that well-rounded background, well-rounded ideas.
I think overall it's absolutely worth doing. You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.
I think everyone should take intro to chemistry because the chemistry department here is phenomenal. Everyone I've known has had a good experience with everyone in that department, so I think it's a worthwhile course to take.
What is one class that everyone should take at Lewis and Clark? I really enjoyed education in a complex world. You kind of get to discuss all the issues that exist within education today, and you get to kind of explore that by going to classrooms firsthand and volunteering with children, which I thought was a really wonderful experience.
One class that everybody should take at Lewis and Clark is anything with Kundaichern, though. I think he definitely changed how I thought about rhetoric and media studies and just education in general.
For me, it was international affairs, just intro to international affairs, because I think it really gives a good perspective on important issues around the world.